Habitat for organizing this interesting event, and also to congratulate my colleagues in the region for their important work. I was asked to briefly describe the strategic approach to homelessness that the Municipality of Budapest took by preparing and then ratifying a new strategy, a 10-year strategy on homelessness last year. And then I will also comment a little bit about our collaboration with From Streets to Homes Association, which is a major partner of World Habitat from Hungary. So the basic policy premise, basic policy principle of the strategy that the Municipality of Budapest prepared last year is that homelessness policy is not and should not be about shelters and outreach, that homelessness as a policy issue and as a social problem should essentially be liberated from the understanding, or more accurately, the misunderstanding that it is about the availability and number of shelter beds. And instead, we should focus more on the real issue, which is the lack of affordable housing. So defining homelessness as a lack of housing is not at all a consensual. It's more a controversial statement in the Hungarian context, but that is the fundamental policy principle or sociological principle that the strategy is based on. And as I mentioned, its main effort essentially is to argue that instead of exclusively focusing on emergency responses to homelessness, more attention and more importantly, much more resources should be dedicated to the promotion of exiting homelessness through increasing access to affordable housing, and equally important is strengthening prevention, which really is self-evident that if you want to decrease homelessness, you need to ensure that at any given time more people are able to exit homelessness than the number of people who are becoming homelessness. It's really this simple, but given the entrenched and institutionalized misunderstanding of the past 30 decades, which really was mostly about the provision of dormitory-style shelters and daytime centers and so on, you really need to stress and provide the empirical foundations for these otherwise self-evident sociological truths. So in this respect, our strategy is within a much broader effort to reframe homelessness, as Nora mentioned, to shift the narratives about homelessness. And whereas in some countries, academic research with very rigorous methodology, especially concerning the Housing First program in the United States, was a major ally for these policy efforts. In Hungary, this is not so much the case. Research is quite undeveloped in this respect, and this housing turn essentially was prepared more on the streets by community organizations and activism, as well as From Streets to Homes associations with their groundworking program to provide affordable and secure housing for homeless people and people living in self-built shacks in the forest and informal settlements and so on. We applied three basic principles of strategy making from the start. The first was evidence-based social policy making, given that in order to challenge the path dependencies and entrenched misunderstandings about homelessness, you really need to, I suppose, gather as legitimacy as you can. And so the strategy making process started with gathering all the available and even like hardly available, but still available data on homelessness. And it also included some explanatory research to cover those areas which there were no available data so far. Equally important was to ensure the participation of homeless citizens We organized 14 forums through which we reached over 200 people with an experience in homelessness. These forums were organized in daytime centers, overnight shelters, temporary homes for families. There was also a forum specifically for ex-homeless people who the Municipality of Budapest has already provided affordable housing. Whereas these forums were capable of reaching a relatively large number of homeless people, they didn't provide the opportunity for a more in-depth engagement. And in order to ensure that as well, we organized a council of experts by experience, to which people with homelessness experience could apply. And the selection process aimed at ensuring more or less the representativity of the participants in terms of age and educational attainment and so on. And those homeless people were able to work together with us in a longer, more in-depth way through workshops. And finally, we also organized several practitioner consultations so that those social workers and other social care professionals who currently work in overnight shelters and daytime centers and in outreach efforts, family hostels and so on, could channel in all their recommendations and experiences and grievances and so on. The strategy identified four basic goals, which shouldn't really come as a surprise. I suppose the first is the strengthening of prevention. The second is increasing access to affordable housing. The third was to decrease rough sleeping or unsheltered homelessness, which is not compatible with dignity, and which is also very harmful in terms of the health and life expectancy and everything of those concerned. And the fourth main goal identified in the strategy was to enhance the quality of the available shelters by the provision of less crowded shelters, shelters that provide more privacy, shelters that provide more human conditions and so on, which is of course also a precondition for decreasing unsheltered homelessness. Now, given the financial constraints of the Municipality of Budapest, the extent to which the municipality will be able to go forward with these goals in the forthcoming years is to a significant degree dependent on the availability of EU funds, which is currently not yet secured because of the debate between the Hungarian central government and the European Commission. But as far as the Municipality of Budapest is concerned, we did include relatively extensive and well-resourced programs in the relevant planning documents in order to be able to start a quite extensive housing allowance or rent voucher program for people currently living in homelessness, and to be able to initiate and then scale up a housing agency which would extend the supply of affordable rentals, both through the renovation of vacant public housing, the repurposing of unused non-residential public buildings, and the inclusion of private rentals or privately owned housing units to the supply of affordable rentals. Now, as far as our cooperation with NGOs is concerned, the Municipality of Budapest is cooperating with a variety of NGOs active in the homelessness field. And one of these organizations is from Streets to Homes Association, which is, I mentioned, an important partner of World Habitat in Hungary. Actually, together with the Metropolitan Research Institute, from whom Nora was speaking earlier, from Streets to Home Association was a partner in a European Social Catalyst Fund project from the past years, which compiled a detailed policy proposal for the introduction and implementation of a citywide housing agency scheme. We have an ongoing cooperation with the association in a program funded by the European Urban Initiative Innovative Actions program called Affordable Housing for All Budapest, which includes some investments in terms of a replicable model of the repurposing of unused non-residential public buildings for social housing, but it also includes an early warning system concerning areas and other housing problems, and some more experimental side projects of the housing agency scheme to promote flexible housing arrangements for specific target groups. And finally, I should also mention that there's a small-scale mobile house program that the Municipality of Budapest is trying to cooperate with the association about, which is really about the use of vacant municipality-owned lots for the development of low-cost but high-quality affordable rental units for homeless households, which unfortunately suffered some backlashes about not in my backyard type of political mobilization, but we are still hopeful that we will be able to proceed with the project in the forthcoming years. So my time is up. Thank you very much for your attention, and if there's any question or comments, I'm also available after the webinar in these addresses and phone numbers.